Spring arrived early this year, but the flutter in my chest had nothing to do with sunshine or blooming flowers. Something was brewing. Something my whole family kept hinting at, but never revealing, and it drove my curiosity wild. Lately, my wife Monica had been sneaking smiles with our two kids every time I passed by. Once, I caught her whispering to Zachary while laughing. As soon as I stepped into the room, they both went silent. Her laptop screen snapped shut, like it held some priceless secret. Our youngest, Chloe, often let slip lines like, "Just a few more days, Dad. You're going to be blown away," before darting upstairs as if one more word might ruin the surprise. I'm not usually one to notice little things, but this time I picked up on every look, every cryptic comment, every mysterious nod. My 50th birthday was just a week away, and I was beginning to believe they were planning something big. Maybe a cozy party with close friends, or even a surprise trip to the Colorado mountains I once mentioned while watching TV. Honestly, I used to think turning 50 was just another number, nothing worth fussing over. But something about the kids' excitement and Monica's quiet cheerfulness softened me. After all, I'd spent nearly 3 decades building this family, working late into the night as a construction engineer, missing Zach's soccer games to finish contracts on time. Chloe never once had to worry about tuition. I'd been saving for her since preschool. Monica once told me I was the pillar of the house, always there even if you collapse on your drafting table. Recently, when I asked Monica if I should take the day off for my birthday, she just smiled mysteriously and said, "Just stick to your usual, we've got everything handled." Sometimes I overheard Zach whisper to Chloe, "He's definitely going to cry this time." I pretended not to notice, but deep down, I felt a strange warmth. Last week, Monica started making more phone calls than usual. Once, I saw her standing in the backyard, phone pressed tightly to her ear, whispering so low I only caught the 13th and "must be on time." When I walked closer, she turned quickly, ended the call, and smiled. "Just Chloe's school stuff," she said. I nodded, didn't press, but my mind spun like a storm. Every sign pointed to one thing. They were planning something special. Not just cake and candles, something that even Monica, practical to a fault and rarely emotional, felt the need to keep secret until the very end. I started imagining all sorts of beautiful possibilities. Maybe a small party with old college friends. Maybe a curated family photo album rebuilt from hundreds of dusty prints in the garage. Maybe even a trip to Utah, where I'd once dreamed of hiking the rugged red cliffs. I felt like a kid counting down to Christmas. Sometimes I caught myself smiling alone in the car, imagining everyone yelling, "Surprise!" as I walked into the living room. The thought of finally being celebrated after years of carrying so much, it meant more than anything you could wrap in paper. I didn't need anything extravagant. I just wanted to be remembered, seen, placed in the spot I thought I always had in their hearts. But life rarely plays out the way we imagine, does it? That morning, just as I poured coffee into my usual mug, my phone rang. The caller ID read, "Tyler, work." I frowned, mildly annoyed, but answered. His voice was urgent. "Kevin, we've got a burst pipe on line 3. Water department says someone needs to be there now. You're the only one who can handle it." I glanced at the clock. 6:43 a.m. A mental image flashed through my mind. Monica and the kids jumping out with cake and candles that evening. I sighed. "Give me 15 minutes. I'm on my way." On the drive, I called Monica just to say I'd be late, but I'd definitely be home for dinner. The call rang 3 times, then ended. Strange, she usually picks up fast, unless she's with clients. I sent a quick text, but no reply. Maybe she was caught up finalizing plans, I reassured myself. The entire day I wrestled with waterlogged soil, diesel fumes, and clanging metal. By the time things settled, the sun had already started to dip. I swung by the local liquor store, grabbed a bottle of aged whiskey, the kind I only buy for real occasions. The clerk grinned. "Birthday?" I smiled and nodded. 50. He whistled. "Happy birthday, man. Hope tonight's something special." It was, just not in the way anyone would hope. I pulled into the driveway at 5:45 p.m., pale sky, cool breeze, but the house felt unnervingly still. No cars, no porch lights. I stepped inside and a chill sank into me. No chatter, no smell of food, no music, just absence. I called out, "Monica? Zach? Chloe?" No answer. The kitchen table was spotless, like it hadn't seen a meal in days. The wall clock ticked steadily, a painful reminder that time moves on, even when you've been left behind. I grabbed my phone. No texts, no missed calls, not even a sticky note. My chest tightened. I called Monica again. This time her phone was off. Zach's? No signal. Chloe's? Silence. I opened the fridge, empty except for a jar of blueberry jam and a few eggs. No cake. No sign of a party in the making. I sank into the kitchen chair, hollow, still holding the unopened bottle. That's when I opened Instagram. I don't post much, but I follow the kids to keep up. First photo that hit me, Monica in a white maxi dress, cocktail in hand, laughing under the sun on a beach. Zach beside her, shirtless, arms wide like he just landed from a private jet. Chloe, hair in a high ponytail, wearing sunglasses and flashing a heart with her fingers. All of them somewhere I wasn't invited. Behind them, turquoise water, beach loungers, bright umbrellas. The caption from Zach's account? Family escape, he won't even notice we're gone, lol. I read it 3 times to believe it. He. That's me. The man who's worked 25 years to pay off this house, cover college tuition, and hold it all together every time money got tight. I didn't reply. Didn't call. Didn't even drop an angry emoji. I just scrolled, hands shaking. Next pic, Monica and her mother at a seaside restaurant. Caption, girls' night, much needed. Then Chloe on a jet ski with her aunt, #freedom. Then Zach clinking glasses with some friends in a pool. Caption, just a smug smiley face, nothing subtle about it. Every post geotagged, luxury resort, Santa Rosa Beach, Florida. I didn't know what I felt first. Shame? Rage? Disbelief? Maybe all of it. But above all, there was stillness. Like I'd been quietly erased from my own story. Not forgotten, just dismissed. On the night I turned 50, I sat alone in the cold kitchen, opened the bottle, poured a glass, and stared at the truth. I hadn't missed anything. They had decided I wasn't worth including. I poured another glass. The burn was sharp, but it couldn't numb the weight pressing down on my chest. The silence around me wasn't peaceful, it was loaded. My phone stayed quiet except for the endless stream of beach photos. Each one cut deeper, but I didn't flinch anymore. Something else was rising. Clarity. I set down the glass, opened my laptop. If I'd been pushed out of my family's world, I deserved to understand how, completely. I logged into our joint bank account, entered the code. Seconds later, the transactions appeared. Third row down stopped me cold. Cash withdrawal. $4,000. Made last Friday at a branch 5 miles from our house. Same amount I gave Zach to help with his apartment deposit. Monica had told me, he's just getting started. Give him a good foundation. I didn't hesitate back then. But this wasn't coincidence. I combed through the last 60 days of transactions. Hotel bookings, spa payments, designer clothing stores, all names Monica once dismissed as just window shopping. I cross-checked dates, matched timestamps with the Instagram posts. Everything aligned perfectly, not one misstep. I checked the credit account next. It was a secondary card I rarely used because it was under Monica's name. Strangely, the current balance had ballooned to over $12,000, even though I clearly remembered paying off a large amount just 2 months earlier. Scrolling through the transaction history, I saw the resort's name appear 4 times, with charges ranging from several hundred to nearly $2,000. Everything was crystal clear. They'd used our shared money to indulge, while I sat there like a fool, waiting for a birthday cake that never came. I opened another tab and pulled up my father-in-law Charles's Facebook. He'd never liked me. He'd never said it outright, but his eyes always made it known I wasn't good enough for his daughter. 11 days ago, he'd posted a photo standing next to a suitcase with the caption, "Family time incoming, countdown, 11 days." Below that, Monica had commented, We'll need extra space for Chloe and Debbie. I leaned back in my chair. So this wasn't a last-minute decision. It wasn't impulsive. It was a coordinated plan, carefully designed. With Monica, Charles, and her sister all involved. Maybe even Zach and Chloe knew. Me? I was the last to know, or perhaps never meant to know at all. I pulled up the footage from our front door security camera. Friday's recording played, Monica loading suitcases into the car, Charles waiting calmly, Zach opening the trunk. Chloe walked out, carrying a throw pillow and her favorite book. No one was in a hurry. No one looked worried about being caught. They knew exactly where I was. They knew I wouldn't find out. Not until it was far too late. I hit pause. The frame froze on Monica turning toward the front door, looking up at the camera. Just 1 second, but in her eyes there was no sadness, no hesitation, just indifference. I felt a chill, saved the video, created a folder, labeled it evidence. Inside my mind, numbers, images, timestamps, glances, laughter. Everything started forming a tidal wave. I didn't cry, didn't throw anything, didn't scream why. I opened a fresh spreadsheet and started listing every expense I had covered for the family over the past 3 years. Chloe's tuition, $26,000. Zach's apartment deposit, $4,000. Home insurance, car, healthcare, the family vacation I personally planned last year. Every row was proof. No need for arguments, no explanations required. I realized I didn't need to retaliate with noise, I just needed to prepare. When someone chooses to erase you quietly, the only way to be heard is with clarity. That night, I printed every statement, saved every screenshot, every video, every comment, each file a puzzle piece. Not to punish, to protect. On the laptop screen, the photo of my family smiling under golden sunlight was still open. I zoomed in on each face. People who once called me husband, dad, son-in-law. I shut the computer. The darkness inside the house still lingered, but this time, it didn't consume me. I knew exactly where I stood. On the line between what was and what comes next. I didn't sleep that night. Sat in silence on the living room couch, eyes fixed on the laptop's blue glow. Outside, wind rustled through the trees like whispers I wasn't ready to hear. In my mind, one question looped endlessly. What else don't I know? A part of me still wanted to believe this was all just a misunderstanding, that Monica still had some shred of respect left. But instinct? The same gut that got me through countless risky projects was screaming that more masks were waiting to be pulled off. I reopened Monica's email. We used to share a family Gmail account to manage bills and notifications. She never changed the password, probably thought I'd never look. I typed statement in the search bar. Dozens of emails popped up, most from a bank I'd never heard of, Bluegate Credit Services. A bad feeling stirred. I clicked the most recent one. Subject line, your April statement is ready. I read every line, trying to stay calm. Total balance, $113,274. Interest rate, 23.9%. Credit limit exceeded by more than 9%. I had to read it again to make sure my eyes weren't deceiving me. Monica, the same woman who once scolded me for forgetting a grocery coupon, had racked up over $100,000 in debt? I scrolled down to the transaction list. Each line was another splash of cold water. Hyatt's End Spa in Scottsdale, $1,250. Clothing boutique in Beverly Hills, $2,300. Seafood dinner with Olivia, her sister. Florida resort deposit, $1,800. Hair salon and massage, $640. Weekend yoga retreat, $1,100. Apple gift cards, $500. D.O. makeup, $390. The list stretched over 7 pages, all purchases she never mentioned, never asked for permission, and clearly never paid for herself. I leaned back, still gripping the mouse, not out of anger, but pure shock. What did I do to deserve this? I thought about the fishing trip I canceled with coworkers because Monica said she needed me home. The late nights working till 2 a.m. on designs while she sat in the next room texting her friends about well-deserved me time. I remembered twice turning down a new truck because she wanted to redecorate the living room with an Italian sofa that cost nearly $8,000. Back then, she told me, it's just an investment in comfort for all of us. No, that wasn't for all of us. That was for her, and the shallow lifestyle she quietly drained from my wallet. I dug through older emails, cross-referring previous months. A clear pattern emerged. Her spending had exploded over the last 3 years, right around the time she began freelancing from home and claimed her income was inconsistent. That I needed to cover more. Now I knew what freelance meant: spa days, yoga sessions, brunch with her sister, and secret credit cards. I started documenting everything, created a second spreadsheet just for the hidden debt, cross-checked it with all the canceled family trips, postponed anniversaries I'd said maybe next year too because money seemed tight. Turns out, it wasn't tight. I was just funding a fantasy I wasn't invited into. I suddenly remembered one night last year when Monica cried, saying I wasn't romantic anymore. Said I only cared about work and had forgotten how to connect with her. I apologized, promised to make time. I even booked a fancy dinner for our anniversary, even though we only had a little over $300 left in checking. Looking back now, it's laughable. I wasn't romantic. Maybe I was too busy earning the money she used to send herself anonymous Valentine's gifts. I shut the laptop, glanced at the clock, 3:16 a.m. I had never felt more awake. There was no anger left, no heartbreak, just a raw truth. I hadn't been her husband in a long time. I'd become an emotional ATM, a signature on tuition forms, predictable, easy to manipulate, never suspicious. Until today. I got up at 6 a.m. after a sleepless night. My mind wasn't foggy with rage or soaked in betrayal anymore. Everything was as clear as the blueprints I'd drafted for 25 years. Layout, structure, solution. I made a cup of coffee. No cream, no sugar. For the first time in years, I wanted to taste the bitterness as it was. The first thing I did that morning was call the bank. I requested to open a new personal account, completely separate from our joint one. The banker asked, "Would you like next month's paycheck to go here as well?" I replied firmly, immediately. That final click of confirmation felt like flipping a switch. One, I couldn't unflip. Next, I grabbed my phone and found Ron's number, my college buddy, now a divorce lawyer in another state. When he picked up, I said straight out, "I'm not sure if this is headed for divorce, but I need to know where I stand legally." He paused, then spoke with the same voice I'd trusted during every late-night poker game back in school. "All right, send over everything you've got. We'll start from there." I hung up and opened my laptop. Nearly 300 files. Bank statements, screenshots from social media, expense spreadsheets, hidden credit card bills. I created a folder and named it Backup Plan. Each file I dragged into that folder felt like unloading weight off my shoulders. By noon, I opened the closet. Monica had always taken up more than 2/3 of the space, even though she rotated through only 10 favorites. I began folding her clothes carefully, like I was packing up the remains of a dream. Dresses, handbags, high heels. I moved them all to the living room, neatly placing them on the old couch she used to complain was so outdated. I didn't throw, tear, or dump anything. I was restoring order. I took our wedding photo off the wall, wrapped it, and placed it in the cabinet under the stairs. Late in the afternoon, I stopped by the hardware store. The clerk asked what I needed. I said, "A new lock set digital code." He nodded, no questions asked. Back home, I installed it in silence. My hands were steady. The house had a new layer of security now, not to keep burglars out, but to block those who thought they still had unrestricted access, as if I were just a ghost in my own home. That evening, I cooked a simple meal for myself: grilled chicken breast, steamed vegetables, and whole grain bread. I plated it, sat down, and ate alone. No TV, no background noise to drown the silence. This silence I had chosen. After dinner, I wrote a letter, not to send, just to release what was lodged in my chest. I wrote to Monica, "I used to think sacrifice meant love. Now I understand. Love has to be mutual. One-way sacrifice is just self-burial of your own feelings." I didn't sign it, folded the page, and slid it into my desk drawer. Before bed, I scrolled through social media one more time. Chloe had posted a story on Instagram, a balcony view of the ocean, captioned, "Last night in paradise." Zach had his own post, a mirror selfie from the resort bathroom with the caption, "One room per person. Now that's living." I saved each photo, each caption, not for revenge, to remember. To remind myself I hadn't imagined it, that this had truly happened. I set the phone face down on the table, turned off the light. No need to rush into retaliation. The first step wasn't striking back, it was standing tall. Tomorrow they'd return, and this time things would be different. I heard the suitcase wheels rolling on the concrete the moment the clock struck 4:37 p.m. Peeking through the curtain, I saw a silver SUV pull up in the driveway. The doors opened. Monica stepped out first, holding a brightly wrapped gift bag that definitely hadn't left with them. Zach followed behind, wearing sunglasses, headphones draped around his neck. Chloe trailed in the back, walking slower than usual. And last, as always in any family event, came Charles, my father-in-law, striding in with 2 oversized suitcases. They stopped at the front door. Monica reached to unlock it, but I had changed the locks. She froze when the handle didn't budge. Charles frowned, tried again, then rang the doorbell. I got up, opened the door, said nothing. Monica spoke first, overly sweet. "We're back. Got you something from Florida. Surprise?" I didn't answer. I just held up my phone, opened Instagram, and showed them Zach's glowing caption on the screen. "He won't even notice we're gone, LOL." Zach dropped his gaze, Chloe looked away, and Monica froze. A thick silence hung across the porch, heavier than the late spring heat. Charles stepped forward, voice loud like he was addressing a school meeting. "No need for all this drama, Kevin. We planned to throw a party when we got back. Things just got a little off track." I kept my eyes locked on his. "Charles, you're not coming into my house today. You can leave the bags here and go." He raised his brows in disbelief. "I am Monica's family, the kid's grandfather. I have a right." I cut in, no longer using polite words. "You don't have any rights in a house you never paid a dime to build. Not today, not ever again." His face showed clear shock, but he turned, dropped the bags on the curb, muttered something unpleasant, and walked back to the car. I stepped aside. Monica, Zach, and Chloe entered a home that no longer belonged to them in the way it once did. Every step echoed on the hardwood floors, not from old boards, but from the new tension in the air. Chloe was the first to speak, barely above a whisper. "Dad, I'm sorry." I raised my hand. Later, everyone to the living room. The room, once warm and full of laughter, now felt like a drawn bowstring. Monica sat on the couch, setting the gift aside, her earlier cheer gone. Zach stood by the window, hands in pockets, staring into the yard. Chloe sat next to her mom, back turned toward me. I walked into the kitchen and returned with the folder I had prepared. Every document neatly clipped. Screenshots, bank statements, credit reports, and 5 years' worth of household expenses. I placed them on the coffee table. "Before anyone says a word," I began, tone steady like a project report, "I have one question. At what point did I become someone so unimportant that I wasn't even worth mentioning on a family vacation?" No one spoke, just the breeze moving the curtain slightly. Monica looked at me, eyes flickering with guilt, but not enough to undo anything. "I've worked nonstop for 25 years. Paid the mortgage, tuition, helped Zach with his first apartment, built our retirement, paid for insurance, fixed the roof, mowed the lawn, replaced brake pads, covered water, electricity, internet bills, and no one thought to ask me one simple question. Dad, do you want to come with us?" Zach finally muttered, "It was just a joke, that caption." I shook my head, calm but firm. "Not a joke, Zach, that's how you see me. That's how all of you see me. Like a walking wallet." Monica reached out to touch me. I stepped back. "No more explanations. All I want now is the truth." My eyes landed on her. The pretending had peeled away. Monica straightened up. "At first, you were part of the plan, but my dad said you'd just complain about money and ruin the mood, so I I figured maybe you needed your own kind of break. I gave a tired laugh, humorless, hollow, and I figured I deserved respect, but clearly I expected it from the wrong people. No one replied. I didn't need them to. I gathered the papers, stood up, and walked to the porch. The sun was setting behind the rooftops in the distance. There was more to be said, more to be confronted. But right then, all I needed was to make sure they understood that no gift bag and half-hearted apology would reset things to what they once were. The living room stayed completely silent after my words. Monica stared at the stack of documents on the table like it was some foreign object no one dared to touch. Zach kept his head down, fists clenched. Chloe wiped the corner of her eyes with the sleeve of her shirt. I pulled out a chair, sat down, and rested my hand lightly on the folder. Then I asked, without raising my voice, when did I become invisible in my own family? Monica pressed her lips together. After a moment, she answered, Kevin, I never thought of you as invisible. It's just, this trip wasn't what you think it was. I opened the folder and flipped to the first page, a printout of her messages with her sister, Olivia. I pointed to the bolded part. Just let him stay home and relax. If he comes, he'll just complain about prices and kill the vibe. Below that, Monica had replied, exactly. He's already living real life for us. I just need a breath. She looked at those words like she was seeing them for the first time. This isn't imagination, Monica. This is what you wrote. Not out of anger, not from a misunderstanding, but because that's truly how you feel. She turned away, voice trembling. I was just venting in the moment. I used to believe that too, I said. Venting is for small talk. This is my life. This is what it feels like to be shoved aside like a broken chair. Chloe choked up. Dad, I really am sorry. I wanted to call you, but they all said if I did, it would ruin the surprise. I looked at her. For the first time in days, I saw an honest gaze. Who told you that? Chloe glanced at Monica. Monica closed her eyes, sighed, and admitted, it was your brother. Olivia, too. The three of us just wanted some time alone. No pressure, no responsibilities. No responsibilities, I repeated. So what, the house pays for itself? The car runs on air? Who automatically wires Chloe's tuition every month? Zach looked up, tone sharp. You're blowing this way out of proportion. People just needed a little space. It was a vacation, not a military operation. I didn't reply. I just slid the printout of that Instagram caption toward him. The one that burned down the last shred of good faith I had. Zach climbed up. Monica turned to her son, eyes briefly widening. Maybe she forgot she'd clicked the laughing emoji on that post. I hadn't. And Charles, I said, flipping to Monica's credit card summary. He made the resort deposit 2 months ago. No one thought I deserved even a single heads up. I just want to understand, Monica, why? Why hide this like I was some burden? She pressed her hands to her temples and exhaled. Kevin, you never take breaks. You're always working. Your head is buried in deadlines and designs. I just wanted a few days without hearing the word client or contract. I nodded slowly, my eyes never leaving hers. So, I'm the embodiment of real life you needed to escape from. That's not what I meant, she shook her head, voice cracking. Things just spiraled. I didn't mean to shut you out. It all started as a small idea, and then you used a hidden credit card, racked up over $100,000 in debt, and nodded along as someone else helped you plan a trip without your husband. I stood and walked slowly around the room. Every item I passed was a fragment of my life. The leather chair where I once read bedtime stories. The Yosemite family photo now hanging silently as a painful reminder. Chloe whispered. Grandpa said, you wouldn't want to go. That you'd just bring everyone down. I turned to Monica. Did he speak for you? You let your father decide my place in this family? She didn't answer. Zach stared at the floor in silence. Chloe sniffled. The battle lines were drawn. I didn't need apologies or theatrics. I needed truth. And now I had it. The only thing left was choice. Continue suffering or rebuild on my terms. I sat at the dining table, facing Monica, Zach, and Chloe. Not as their husband or father, but as someone sharper, clearer, ready to redraw the lines after being erased from a picture I once painted with sweat and blood. Starting this month, I said in the calm tone I used in budget meetings, my paycheck will no longer go into the joint account. I've opened a personal account and none of your personal expenses will be tied to me anymore. Monica opened her mouth to object, but I raised my hand. I'll continue paying the mortgage for the next 3 months. Chloe's tuition will still be covered, but directly through the school. After that, either we have a new agreement, or you find your own way. Zach shot up. You're being petty. It was just a vacation, and now you're acting like it was the end of the world. I looked him straight in the eye. It wasn't about the days. It was the choice to exclude me, then laugh about it. You call it a vacation. I call it a wake-up call. Zach mumbled something and stormed upstairs. His door slammed hard enough to rattle the hallway picture frames. Monica sat pale and silent. Chloe, still teary-eyed, asked softly, "Can I stay here a few days?" I nodded. "This is your home?" "Huh. As long as you respect the new boundaries." Monica packed the next morning. No tears, no hugs. Just a hollow morning, the sound of luggage wheels scraping across tile echoing through a house that once felt like home. She moved into Olivia's, the same place, I suspect, where the "let's cut Kevin out" messages originated. 2 days later, while I was fixing a leaking faucet in the kitchen, the door was pounded hard. I answered to find Charles standing there, hands on hips, face flushed. "We need to talk," he barked. I stepped onto the porch, closed the door behind me. "Whatever it is, say it here. You're tearing this family apart just because your ego got bruised. Monica's crying every night. The kids are torn between parents. You think you're the only one who's hurt." I looked at him without flinching. "Do you know how much I've spent the past 3 years so everyone could have that comfortable life? Do you know how many promotions I passed, how many plans I canceled, just so the kids could go to good schools and this house stayed running? And that gives you the right to control everything?" He snapped back. I laughed. "No, I don't want control. I want respect. But you? You took your daughter on a trip and didn't even ask her husband. You taught my kids that silence and exclusion solve everything." His voice dropped. "You'll regret this. Family isn't something you bargain with." I stepped closer, voice cold but steady. "Family is what I've been protecting for 25 years. While you poisoned it with your disdain." I pointed toward his car. "You can go back to your world now, the one where money and commands fix everything. But this is my house, and from now on the rules have changed." He gripped the steering wheel tightly as he backed out, tires shrieking on the curb. That night, Chloe made dinner. Spaghetti and salad. She chatted about study groups, a new friend, how weird it felt being caught between parents. I didn't interrupt, I just listened. For the first time in years, I felt no need to endure in silence or perform strength. I just needed to be present, clear, and steady enough so nothing that was mine could be quietly taken again. Tomorrow might bring more conflict, more tension, but the line had been drawn. 3 weeks after the confrontation one Tuesday morning, I heard a knock while hanging towels on the back porch. I opened the door to see Zach, shirt wrinkled, eyes sunken, sweat and cheap soap in the air. He stood there quietly, then said softly, "Can I come in?" I nodded and led him to the kitchen. "No questions yet?" I just grabbed a second mug and poured us both coffee. Zach sat down. The arrogance from weeks ago was gone. "The apartment I rented," he began, "is more expensive than I thought. Electricity, water, Wi-Fi, food, everything's adding up. I miscalculated. My credit card's almost maxed out." I didn't smirk, didn't scold. I asked, "Do you have a plan?" He sighed. "I need to relearn how to manage money, and, if you're okay with it, I want you to teach me how to budget." I nodded. "Sunday morning, bring your bills and cards. We'll start from scratch." Since then, every Sunday, Zach came over. We'd cook lunch together, simple stuff like roasted chicken and veggies, then sit at the table with laptops, spreadsheets, and conversations we'd never had before. He started to see the value of every dollar, every meal, every trip he used to take for granted. Chloe still stayed a few nights a week. She kept her room tidy, sometimes leaving sticky notes on the fridge. "Don't skip breakfast, Dad," or "Hope you have a great day." Small gestures, but to me, they were pieces that stitched us back together. One Friday afternoon, while mopping the kitchen floor, my phone rang. Monica's name lit up. I hesitated for a few seconds, then picked up. "Kevin?" she said. "I'm not calling to argue, just wondering if you'd meet me for a bit, if that's okay." I agreed. We met at a small cafe near the city library, the same place we used to go as college students. Monica arrived early, wearing a light blue blouse, hair tied back. She wasn't as made up as usual. We ordered drinks and sat in silence for a while. Finally, she said, "I've been thinking about that trip, about everything afterward. I won't deny I was wrong." I didn't respond immediately. She continued, "At one point, I thought one vacation would help me breathe, but I forgot. You've been holding your breath for years, so the rest of us could." I looked at her for a long moment. "I don't need an apology in words. I need to see it in action." She lowered her gaze. "Do you think there's a chance?" I took a sip of coffee, thought carefully, then replied, "I don't know. Forgiveness might come, but trust doesn't return easily. We're not at the same place anymore." The conversation ended with a light handshake. No blame, no promises. The following month, I began building a new rhythm. Every Monday morning, I swam at the community center 10 minutes from home. Being submerged in cold water made me feel like I was rinsing off years of exhaustion. On Saturdays, I joined a local hiking group. In the foggy mornings, we'd walk the forest trails near Redford Canyon. No one there knew I was the man who'd been left behind on his 50th birthday. To them, I was just Kevin. Quiet, always carried a pocket knife and backup map, and never left trash on the trail. I started learning new recipes: homemade cheese bread, Italian soup, even ginger cookies. Chloe's childhood favorite. Every Sunday, Zach and I tried a new dish. The kitchen stopped being a place of obligation and became a place of healing. One afternoon, while cleaning out an old storage cabinet, I found our family photo album. Pictures of Zach's first bike ride, Chloe in her preschool graduation cap, Monica hugging me in the rain on our 10th anniversary. I didn't throw them away, just tucked them into a separate drawer. Because no matter what, they were still part of me. I didn't need to shout to be heard anymore, didn't need to sacrifice to the point of emptiness just to be seen. I was still Zach and Chloe's father, still Kevin, but this time, Kevin by choice. Kevin's story is a powerful reminder of the importance of being seen and respected within a family. After years of silently providing, he was left behind by the very people he loved on his 50th birthday. But instead of falling apart, Kevin stood up, set boundaries, rebuilt his life, and reconnected with his children through honesty. Now, he's no longer a shadow in his own home. He's in control on his own terms. What do you think of Kevin's decision? Should he forgive or move forward alone? Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to follow the channel for more emotional, real-life stories and lessons about family.